When we are talking about productivity, most people nowadays usually spend countless of hours or even days just to find the best plugins or even the best DAW just to get going. For beginners, it can easily be complicated or overwhelming because they don't have nowhere to start or don't even know where they are going. And this doesn't make it any progress at all. In this video, I'm going to give you 15 useful tips how to be productive than you usually are when you're working. The first tips I want to give you is plan your time. In our daily life, we can easily get distracted by the social media, friends, or even family, and this doesn't give you any progress at all. To avoid people from bothering when you're focused on one thing, the best thing is to create a schedule. This allows you to be focused on one thing without getting people from interrupting you or barging in, making it more efficient or let people know that you are busy when you're working. If you have a hard time creating a schedule, I recommend that you take at least 60 minutes per day, and this gives you a good limit of time to make you even get any progress at all. If you're having trouble to create schedule, recommend that you use a calendar reminder on your phone so it can easily remember, so you know when the time limit is on or off. The second thing I want to talk about is trying to avoid doing everything at once. This is because our humans are only capable of concentrating on one thing, which makes us work even more efficient rather than multitasking. Most people will actually think that multitasking is a good thing because you are able to do more things than having to focus on one thing. This is totally a myth. What it actually does is that it will trick your mind, make you think that you are doing any progress. But what actually it does is that it reduces the productivity, wasting the time, and make you even more tired that you would usually be if you're focusing on one thing. What I would recommend is that you focus one thing, finish the job, then moving to the next one. This allows you to concentrate on one thing without having to think about it when you're done with it. The third thing I want to talk about is the temperature. What personally for me, I feel this has a significant impact on my workflow, because if you're working on a cold room, you usually need to have an extra layer of clothes or electric heater to make it more comfortable. In the summer, it usually gets even hotter, so making you perhaps even more uncomfortable, or you're not able to focus doing what you're actually doing. And that's where you perhaps need a fan. In the basement, it usually gets colder, but if we are talking about in the upstairs or even higher, it gets hotter, so you usually need to be aware of that. For me, I found that the most comfortable temperature is around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, but this is only personal for me. So if you're having a trouble finding out, I personally recommend that you do it so you can find what is the best temperature when you're working in the studio or in the bedroom. The fourth thing I want to talk about is taking care of your eyes. It's important to adjust your room to a comfortable light, so that when you're working, it's neither too dark or too bright. What it actually determines is from the light source, such as your computer screen, the lamp light, and even from the window, which provide you the natural light. So I would double check or even see if how comfortable my eyes are when working, because if it's too bright, your eyes will get dry more even easily, so making you less focusing on what you're actually doing. The fourth thing I want to talk about is taking care of your eyes. It's important to know that how bright or how dark your room are when you're working, because this actually determines or even can reduce the eye strain when working. When you're getting eye strain, it can easily get you even more tired, make you less focusing on what you're actually doing. What actually determines by this is the light source, such as your computer screen, the lamp light, and the window that provides the natural light. So I would recommend or suggest that you adjust to a comfortable bright in order to reduce the eye strain. The fifth tips I want to talk about is make it a habit, or try and make music every day. To be able to be more productive, you need to have a change of mindset, which means you need to create a habit. The problem with the willpower and discipline is that it doesn't last forever, and if you rely on it, there are times that you are probably not going to work with your music or at all. With a habit is that it doesn't require a lot of effort and discipline, so it gives you a more enjoyable work instead of having to feel like you need to do it. For example, if we're talking about gym, if you're only training once in a month, there's a certain chance that you're not going to train again. But if you're training 5 times a day or even more so, your body or your mind will automatically remember it and you will train it without thinking through, making you more productive than slacking off. The 6th tips is to have your equipment reachable, which means that your stuff is beside you or around you in a certain range that you don't have to struggle each time when you're going to use it. To reduce or don't waste your time, keep your equipment ready or set them up so you don't have to plug in or plug out every single time you're using it, such as your instrument or your microphone plug on, so you don't have to plug it in or off when you don't use. The 7th tips I want to give to you is to organize your sample libraries. As a beginner, this usually wouldn't be a problem to find what your file or folder is in because you only have a few of them. But as soon or later you're working with more projects or working with different types of music, it can actually be quite messy to find where the folders is exactly. And in order to prevent this struggle from finding the right folder or the right file, the easiest to do is to create a folder with a certain genre or samples so you know exactly where they are. And I suggest you do this as soon as possible because the faster you do it, the easier it will become without having to struggle or finding the file later on. The 8th tips I want to give to you is learning the shortcuts of the DAW. This will actually get things done more quickly if you know the key command, because this actually helps you save a lot of hours or perhaps time from dragging your mouse to a certain thing and click on it, which perhaps takes more time than usual. And the best way to learn that is either memorize it or write down a note so you know what types of key you have to use. The 9 tips I want to give to you is that if you are stuck or don't have any ideas how to work on continuously on your DAW, the best thing is to copy other MIDI tracks and save them as a project into your software. And what you're going to do is just by playing around by adding new sounds such as bass, guitar or other instrument, and this will give you a newer idea or perhaps making a remix so you can be more creative, knowing what you're going to do or what you need to do when you're working with music. This is actually a great guideline if you are stuck or don't know where to start. If you're having trouble on doing something new, you can actually listen to something else or different genre, so giving you other ideas, not only just listening to your music. The 10 tips is that you should create a template for future use. Usually when you're finished with your working with your first or the newest project, the problem with that is that when you're moving to the next one, you have to start it from the scratch, and this is usually where the discourage comes from, because usually you have so many ideas that you don't know where to go, or you have no idea to start at all. The great thing is that you're creating a template, making that you have some guidelines so you can either edit it or take some samples of it so you can or know where you should starting from. The 11 tips I want to give to you is to eliminate any distraction in your home recording studio. Most of us don't have the budget to have any fancy, so we usually start in our bedroom or in the house. And the problem with that is that you usually get many distractions from other things that is not related to music. The best way to remove those distractions is usually cleaning your desk or anything that's around you in that room, so you can mainly focus on one thing that you need to do or need to be done. And there are some suggestions I can recommend. Is that first is to close all the application that is not related to music. This helps your computer to run even faster and you can focus on the thing you need to be done. The other thing is to turn off the notification on your computer, so when you're working, people don't give you any message, so you can lose the focus on what you mainly are doing. The same with the phone as well. Turn off the notification or place it somewhere else. Most of us usually have our phone, and it can easily get distracted because someone is texting you and you need to text them back, feeling like the urge you need to reply to them, which is not necessary until you're finished. The other thing you can do, if you live in the same apartment or under the same rooftop as other people, the thing you can do is then telling them that you're busy at a certain moment, so people won't disturb you unless it's something important. And lastly, what you should not do in a home recording studio is to invite people that is not part of it. So people that is not working with you are almost the same distraction as you talking with people on the phone, because they are not there to help you or provide any support. They are only there to talk. The 12 tips I want to give to you is to have small breaks, because if you're planning on working on a longer session, it's important to take a break sometimes, not constantly working on your project all the time. If you're thinking about having a break, it's important to have at least around 10 minutes or so. Not let your mind and your body to relax. But what important steps is that you let your ears to relax as well, because when you're working with music, you will perhaps listen a lot of music, making your eyes more tired, and it could lead to ear fatigue. What it actually does is that you will eventually lose focus, getting tired and more discomfort when you're working too long and listen to much music. So it's important to take small breaks. The third tips I want to give to you is to be creative at first and later on be critical. When you're doing music, it's an important step that you are more open-minded rather than restricting on how it actually should sound like. When we're speaking of music, music is an art, which means there are no rules on how you should do things. It helps you actually to without worrying about other opinion when you're creating music, because being creative helps you adding up new concept, new ideas, and doesn't restrict from trying out other stuff. Once you are finished with the creative phase, you can later on fine-tune it on be more critical on how it actually should sound like. Once you're done that, then it's good to go. Then we talk about is to take care of your health. This is crucial and important for your body to keep in shape and have enough energy when you're working with your music. If you are planning to work more than just 1 hour, such as till the afternoon or the whole day, it's important to have your body ready before you start producing music. And here are some of my suggestions that you could look at. Before you're going to your home recording studio or your bedroom for working with your music, I would recommend that you eat before you're doing something, because if you don't eat before you're doing that, you usually need to take a break because you have to eat something, which is usually takes some time to make food. And so what I would recommend that is that you're doing this before, so when you're working, you don't need to take so much break just because you have to get something into your stomach. The other thing I would recommend is to stay hydrated, which means that you can either have a bottle of a glass. The next thing is to stay hydrated, so you can either have a bottle or a glass with water ready, so when you're feeling thirsty or so, you can have it when you need it. The other one is to have a good night's sleep. It's important for you to sleep good enough hours so you can get good working flow, because if you have less sleep, it usually affects your mind and your focus, so you don't usually focus if you have a plenty of sleep. Most people usually tell you that you need at least 8 hours of sleep. One thing I would recommend personally for me is that you usually train or doing some exercise, not only just giving you strength on your body but also your mind, so it helps you to stay in shape but also motivate you to be more productive than sitting on a chair all day. And I would recommend that you have something exercise or something kind of sports you do that requires using the whole body. And the last tips I want to give to you is label what you have in your track. When you're working with your music production software or your DAW, the easy thing you can do is actually name your track and color it, but many wouldn't do this because they're probably too lazy or perhaps thinking they have their control on what they are doing. But later on, when the more you're adding stuff in there, it can easily be overwhelmed and you have to spend much time digging in the mud, which gives you or wasting the time what you actually need to do. The great thing about labeling the tracking is that it helps to your eyes to recognize it easier and even allows you to work even faster. Even if you're taking a break and dive right into it, you know where you need to go or where you need to adjust, just so you can work again or dive right into it. In this video, I have already mentioned about learning the key shortcuts or the key command, how to allows you to work even faster with your DAW. If you're interested, you can go and check out the website or the link below, and I have there to show a chart how or what types of key you can use to work with the specific DAW you have. So be sure to check it out.